16, 2020. Order in the court. Ms. Clerk, give us roll, please.
Roberts. Clark.
Here.
Valentine. Here. Nichols.
Here.
Rowe.
Here.
Carr. Adrian.
Here.
DeHart. Meredith.
Okie dokie, we do have a quorum. Let's all stand.
Gracious Lord, we just come to you, we ask once again you be with us, we attend to the city's business. Father, we pray that we do that as a good steward. We pray that we do it with an open mind. We pray, God, that we can leave here and all leave here happy with the decisions we made. I thank for these people that's willing to take time out of their life to try to make our city a better place. Thank you for these people that's willing to move to our city to make our city a better place. Thank you for the new year, Father, the new opportunities. Father, we just look back to try to glean from the mistakes we made and to move forward. We pray we do that. Thank you for sending your son to die on the cross for our sins. Thank you for everything you give us that we so awkwardly sometimes take for granted, Father, for the air we breathe, the water we have, for just life itself. We love you and forgive us where we fail. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Okey-dokey, first thing, we have a consent agenda for items 1 and 2. Do we have a motion?
I have a question
Speak.
on invoices. Page 1, the Milwaukee Cordless Impact. Did we have one and it gave out or?
No, we did not have one.
Okay,
They use electric ones.
okay,
I have more cordless, their impacts used out there.
okay. Are we keeping those on the list of the pieces of equipment that we do have out there so that we can do inventories periodically to make sure it's still there?
We have just completed the inventory at the barn, yes.
Awesome. And do you have a schedule for how often you're gonna do
I'm gonna
those?
do that once a year in December.
Okay.
That was ordered to keep from our people getting electrocuted, them having to work with their troops in the hole right those generators.
Yeah.
So that's a tool well bought right there. Alright, any more questions?
No. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. Let's go ahead and go items 1 and 2. All in favor, say yes. 1 to approve. Item number 3, new business public comments. Hello, public, good to see you tonight. Nobody's here. Cody, you got your little report in there?
It's in there, I'm gonna turn it over to these guys.
Yeah, let's do so.
Oh, up here.
Has everybody met Chris? Okay, and
Kendall down.
Kendall. Chris he's got a head on his shoulder now. I took a tour through the water plant a while back.
You're not talking about me, are you?
And he's like old Dr. Preacher Riggs. You have to have a dictionary to know what he's talking about when it comes to water.
That's good.
But he knows his stuff, I can tell you that right now. And I think we're lucky and thankful to have him.
Thank you.
So you got the floor.
I'm gonna give you a status update where we're at with the water. Kendall's gonna do the wastewater for you. Right now, with the programmers come in, we have all the lift stations online, so now we can see them remotely. And as a matter of fact, he's over at the water plant right now, getting that connected. Fixed the leak on the raw water pump today, out at the river. Repaired the packing on that, and originally the.
Questions that quick on that. Is there 2 motors up there or 3 on that,
There's actually 2, and the third one's taken apart.
Okay, there is 3 up there.
All I ever knew about was 2.
There used to
We
be
only
2
had
big
one
ones
down
and
there.
1 little one.
But what it is, the quote was originally to put a packing gland on pump number 2, but instead I had him replace the packing gland on number 1, so I had 1 good pump, because it was leaking really bad. He sent me a quote today, I'll be sending it over to you tomorrow. Okay. So get that one fixed. Last night we had an issue with OK Foods. We have a backup system, okay, where we feed water to the clear well and feed OK Foods or the North Tower. When we opened that up, it either stirred up the sediment in the tank or debris in the pipeline that had been up for quite some time. And they actually didn't kill last night because of that. Worst part is we turned it on and we didn't know that we had high turbidity until they called at 8:30 last night.
Why
And that's
did we not?
because there's no inline analyzer on the distribution side.
Oh,
So
So-
it's inside the plant that the radio was good.
Yeah.
But we don't have one on the distribution side.
and why had it not, it hadn't been opened in a long time, or?
Yeah, evidently. Worst part is that's the backup, so if you would lose river water right now, you have no way to supply OK Foods with suitable water, because it didn't work very well last night, and I'm sure they don't wanna do that again.
I'm sure they don't.
Yeah.
So what needs to be
And the
done?
worst part is if we'd had an analyzer, we would have known about it, and they had like almost 1 million gallons in their tank of good water. And I ruined the water that was in there, so we had to drain all their water, had to drain all my water, the plant here, before it went back in service.
Oh my gosh.
So are they gonna, has there been any discussion, they're gonna come back on the city for damages?
No, haven't heard anything from them. I've been talking to Danny all day,
Okay,
and, his last text to me was, let's put this behind us and move on.
okay.
Oh,
I don't know what your relationship is with you. It's been really good through all the issues.
They was just getting ready to start production.
Okay, I heard they dumped, that they had a bunch of chickens they had to throw away.
But they didn't start production up till this morning. They tried to start production and what they run this morning, but
Yeah, I
I'd
don't
have to
know
look
how
at
much
the
it was,
Yeah.
okay.
But they quit.
Yeah, so if the issue is in the tank, I think we're due for tank inspections. So we can get a company in to come in and clean the tank and do the inspection at the same time. I'll send you the name and phone number for those folks tomorrow. Still looking for C licensed operator, we'll shorten operators plant. So which causes everybody to do double duty right now. Manganese is high, leaving the plant. Last night at 5 o'clock, the line plugged up in between the building and the contact tank. It's about 350-foot run in a conduit. I'm gonna run the line above ground tomorrow and order some, I need one piece of pipe, one piece of tubing, and it's like 350 foot, so I need to get a 500-foot roll. I'll get that coming tomorrow. The quote is in for the filter trough repairs.
Those the lens, the horseshoe. I've been calling them horseshoe on
Yeah,
there.
they're filter troughs.
Yeah.
We got the quote yesterday. I'll send that to you tomorrow as well.
What do you think? What are they going to be?
Well,
It was around 11.5, somewhere in that neighborhood. That was from Mimic here in town.
Would we be rebuilding all them troughs or just fixing that in?
The three on the west side, right? Was it west side
East.
Yeah. We'll actually,
or east side?
we'll actually place 2 of them back up. Okay, then they're gonna have to manufacture the 3rd one because we don't know where it went.
Oh, yeah, that's one that was broke off. You talking about the filters there?
Yeah.
Look like a
remember the
mini
ones that
Is
were
that
laying
hope?
down top of the filters?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know where the
I
center
noticed
filter.
that one was broke off.
Yeah, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna make a cradle on either side to set the trough in. Now on the 3rd one, the trough's not there, it's gone, so I don't know where that went to, evaporated or,
It's not out there in the scrap pile either.
That's about 11,500.
We was looking at some fiberglass ones in them. I think I may have.
how much were those?
I'd have to check Perry. He's in Florida right now.
You mentioned a couple of other bids that you would give to him on a couple of things earlier. Do you know how much those were?
Turbidity analyzer?
Yeah.
No, I haven't put that together yet. So, I didn't go to bed until like 3:45 this morning.
Oh my.
Plan at 6:30. Didn't have time.
So that turbidity thing, is that something that never has been there, right? That you're
No,
talking about?
never been there.
Okay.
It actually should be, especially if you have
Sure.
something, you have a pipe, the pipe passes all our treatment process and dumps into the tank, you definitely need that.
Yeah, really, really.
But it's probably, the analyzer is probably around $5 or $6 grand for one 5200s,
Yeah, probably.
plus an SC 200, which is $500 or $600. I don't know, 5, 6 grand.
Not like a GoFundMe account.
Yeah, sounds like it. No.
Well,
Okay, go on.
how's the, what do you think about SCADA? This, correct me here, but were you talking about them out the lift station? Reprogramming them, everything? We had to reprogram all them because, Viola keeps everything on their own backbone, so when they left all that stuff that they was gonna report back to us, it was sent. so we had to get new stuff, and now it's, loaded up and it's owned by the city.
Yeah, I actually, I think we completed all the remote sites.
Yeah.
New SIM cards and rebooted them all up. We actually lost all the lift stations at the SCADA, or on the SCADA system at the SBR. They kind of started going down one at a time. And then, we lost, the main lift station, and then we lost, I believe it was lift station 6, and then the next day we lost everything else. And, but as of today, the lift stations are all back up online.
So. So we put all that in our name, but that's what you guys said to do. Oh, I was gonna say, so it's all that stuff that they put in there for us, would be reporting to Chicago and then coming back to Houston. They had their own network within Verizon and everything, so it was all proprietary that they was putting in out there for us, and now they've had to redo something.
Yeah, so like all the PLCs at each station, you purchased, but to enable them to talk to each other, that belonged to the older.
Right.
So when they left, they took all that out.
They basically had everything set up on their secure APN. So you guys were probably never gonna get it.
Is there anything we can do about that?
See that, when he started talking there, he went way over my head.
So why did you know why they might have done that?
I'm sorry?
Do you know why they might have done it that way?
They
Is
do
it just a
every place
security?
like that. We took
Is
all
it a
places.
security thing, you think, so somebody can't hack into it?
That's what, I think that's kind of the basis that they use.
Yeah, but I think it's also kind of like,
A secretive
so you
thing,
get married to them,
yeah, can't do it without.
because they did the same thing in Illinois to us. They owned the backbone, they took it out, and that's no communication. Now, we do have one issue, might get another out of compliance letter, because we're missing some records from Veolia. So we're gonna be probably a week and a half late on filing the MOR and the DMR
For SPR.
for the municipal plant. We already contacted the ODEQ, and she's like, that's fine, she'd rather have it complete with all the information we have instead of us filing a revised one.
Where did the files go? I mean, did they take them with them?
Let me interject here. Our arrangement that we wrote with Viola, that they could copy all the documents. That's what it said, right, Robert?
Right.
Okay. Well, I learned from Kendall that, and so when Viola tells me they're bringing Kinko's and a copier and gonna take all this and copy it, that's what our agreement said to me. We're gonna copy it. And we'll assist them doing that. They can have the records. Well, then, learning from Kendall, they went to industrial waste to get there. Kendall wouldn't let them have it. Well, he said, you come here. He wouldn't let the documents leave.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
Documents can't be removed. Oklahoma statute says that you have to have 3 years worth in the office.
Right.
5 on the site, and then anything after 5 can be destroyed. But the documents cannot leave the facility. The city of Heaver owns the documents. But even the city of Heaver can't come and remove the documents.
Yeah.
And when they approached me with it, I told them, I said, look, I got a copy machine, I got paper. You can make all the copies you want, or you can tell me what you need and I'll make the copies. And so that's the route we took. So the DMR for the industrial plant was in on time, it was complete. So all that was good. As far as the SBR goes, I think I have 1 lab report, which I'm gonna call data testing tomorrow, which I could get copies of the 2 lab reports that I'm missing for it. All the totalizers are gone, and I think that we've decided that we can't get a hold of the totalizer copies, then we're just gonna have to do an average for the month. I think I have the 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. Anything before the 28th is gone.
How do we get on that?
And then back on the SCADA issue too, the reason why we got compliance is because the SCADA system was not recording all the data. like it's showing 0 chlorine residual for the whole month of December. Veolia's programmer was online with me on the 9th, and he had the wrong address. It was actually looking at the wrong PLC for the data, so there's no data in the SCADA for that. So it shows a 0.
And going back to your question, how do we get them back? I know Chris has been in contact with Don Martin. They're claiming that they returned everything, so how we get them back? We're going through each file, just,
Okay, if they say they took copies, then they can make us copies of their copies. Right?
right?
I made that request,
Yeah?
and they said they couldn't find their copies.
Somehow I'm not surprised.
And and all the December information that was already entered into the HOF-WIM system came back empty. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
But their
All
secure
the
site, their secured site in Chicago should have this information.
Should have, but we had all the information entered for December, what Christie did, and when we got, WIMS back, there was nothing in there. And so now, we only have from the 13th through the 31st.
These documents that they took from there and copied, are they protected under the same law that you were talking about?
Yes.
Did they take them
Yeah.
illegally out of our water plant?
Why can't we file charges against them?
Well,
It's a violation of statute. It may not have something that's.
Attorney, legal advice.
Well, it's mainly a DEQ statute.
So it's all DEQ. So in other words, we can't do anything civil to it.
We had an agreement, our agreement was to provide them access, we didn't say they could take them. I mean, we just provide them access to the
So they broke the contract.
cooperation clause, well, it wasn't really a contract as much as, I mean, it was a
Or the
separation
agreement, okay,
so-
yeah.
No, we need them back, the problem is they're saying they don't exist, I mean,
So they don't
They're
wanna
not saying they don't
cooperate
wanna
with
get
us, they
back.
just don't wanna cooperate, is that what the issue is? They don't wanna help, they don't wanna help out, they don't wanna do anything to help?
last email I said that everything should be there. Do we owe them any money? Huh? Do we owe them any money? We haven't seen the bill yet. You asked me about that today on the SCADA.
they're gonna present a bill for the SCADA eventually.
We paid our last payment on,
Yes, we paid in advance on our monthly payment. The payment I made on on December 1 paid for the month of December. So we were paying in advance of them.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're right. It's, that was one of the arguments we had over the separation agreement is, they wanted to add language that made it mandatory for us to pay their invoice and we wouldn't do it, so. But from that, I infer that they're gonna be sending us an invoice
For the SCADA.
for the SCADA.
Can we legally withhold until documents surface? Do we have any grounds there?
One's probably not contingent on the other.
That's not great.
What about this?
But it was never really installed at 100%.
Well, see, that project should have been done, what you say, about September, where it was approved.
It was 90 days in the very beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it never
well,
did get done.
Never did get completed.
And then the stuff that went to Chicago, whatever, was that like equipment or just
That's just that.
electronics?
Data.
Just that?
Just that.
This paperwork, yes.
So they have the information, they just don't wanna provide.
Well, they said that they took it to FedEx to make copies,
And then,
and they said everything was there, and they would give us everything they got back from FedEx. So they called FedEx, and FedEx said, no, we don't have anything else here.
reverse that?
So there's missing stuff that they should have, that they're saying they don't.
And there's 2 things, there's that information they took, which is stuff that we do manually. Okay, but then the electronic data, we don't have either, because the programmer sent it to the wrong address, shows zeros. I don't know.
And there's nothing we can do about that.
It's gone forever.
But do we have bench sheets? Is that what you call them?
No, the bid sheets are gone too. The hard copies are gone and the electronics. Electronic.
Gosh almighty. And preacher too, that's what bothers me.
I mean, like I say, like we've said, they're claiming that we have the information. And if we have it, we sure haven't been able to locate it.
It doesn't sound like they're denying us the information, they're just claiming that they don't have the information. So,
Could be a,
a
he
different
said, he
argument,
said.
it's a different argument, yeah, and depending on the truthfulness of the statement, so.
There's
yeah.
third person involved, which is FedEx.
Yeah.
Dropping off that, so.
Exactly, so.
It'd be like taking the money to the bank in the armored car.
Could
Somebody,
they not backtrack the address where they sent it to in their system? I mean, you said that they have a different address.
Yeah, what it is, when they write the program, it tells them to go to an address on a PLC to get that data every 15 minutes. Well, he addressed it to the wrong PLC.
Oh, so it was retrieving that data from another plant or another.
Yeah, another thing, that data was irrelevant. So it shows null, which is a 0 for all those. Shows a 0 for chlorine, and it shows a steady 0.1 for the whole month for combined turbidity every 15 minutes. Then I have 0 turbidity for filters.
That was from the first of the month?
So really, it goes all the way to the 9th,
So
which is
really
when their
was-
programmer came down and made the corrections.
But they were in there, wouldn't they see that though, day to day, they're looking at the reports?
Yeah. That should be done on a daily basis. Unfortunately, I didn't find it till probably the 5th or the 6th. We started trying to make contacts, hey, it's not recording right. The other issue is I don't know who paid for the programming or SCADA system, but they installed Win 911. Okay, all they did was install the program, but they never set it up.
Right.
And we have Haynes here right now. I've instructed him to go ahead and set it up for us. And that's, Cynthia gives me all the alarms for the water plant.
How much cost is that? Is there a cost on that,
Yeah, it's gonna be an extra charge for that.
ballpark figure?
I think Haynes is about $95 an hour, probably about 4 or 5 hours.
It was, what was it?
But it actually
The
should
SIM
have
card-
been paid for that program.
It should have been included.
Should have been set up, yeah.
But the other thing on the SIM cards, we got started with the SIM cards prior to them, because we knew the Verizon deal, Dobson, and how that come in to get it over. And so I got Haynes in here to start doing that. That's why they've been helping, and to kind of give a little evaluation of what the SCADA system's like. And so one bill that we paid or got to pay Haynes is about $6,800. And that's for them to come back and reprogramming them SIM cards and replacing them so we can retrieve that data. Because that proprietary data that went to Viola went away when they put it in there. And everything, so we had to have new SIM cards and everything. We was able to use the little box, we just had to have a new SIM card, right?
Right.
Those are 11, is it 11 or 13 remote locations?
Let's see, there's 5 lift stations, 3 boosters, 2 water towers, so 10.
Yeah, I thought they were short 1 SIM card.
They were short, for some reason, Avenue I booster station, wasn't on the list. It was on the list, but, it didn't come with, they didn't send a SIM card for it, and, when I was there with Bo, the password he had because he was gonna go ahead and set the PLC up and just get the SIM card, but the password wouldn't work either, so he was gonna look in to see, you know, why everything at East Avenue I or Avenue I booster was like that. You know, some of the other, you know, another reason that, you know, is because there was a period of time there, you know, when Viola went out and US Water came in, you know, getting the hot winds set up, that took some time. So, you know, we were probably 10 days into it before we realized all these issues with the data. And because we didn't get the hard copies back until probably when you noticed the 7th.
Something like
Yeah.
that, 6 or 7.
Yeah, we were about 7, 8 days into it without the hard copies.
So if they can't provide it, we don't have it, what's DEQ gonna do?
Right now, they don't seem that concerned.
Cause I know we're in the middle of it.
No, actually, it's not gonna be on us or the city, it's gonna be on Joey.
Now, why couldn't they make us good water?
Yeah,
I'm really struggling to understand why we had a problem with that.
No damn.
Well, you know, there's always, anytime we've done a transition, there's always something that gets lost in the shuffle.
I can
You know,
understand that,
not
but not,
intentionally.
not being set up from Jump Street, that's what,
Yeah, because like we should do that every day, so they should have known, I think start what, the end of November? So we're start reading zeros, they should have been caught that time.
Maybe they're on their way out, there's pride and time and.
Yeah, because the way the system's set up now, it's rather labor intensive to get, you have to record your turbidities every 4 hours, your highest turbidity. And so what it does, it takes a reading every 15 minutes. So you have a reading every 15 minutes for the whole day. So you'll look at every 4 hour period, find the lowest one. And it's easier if you do a report that this gives you the highest one for every 4 hour period. And that's the reason it should be done every day, because if you wait till the end of the month, you probably have 2 days sitting there going through every day, every 4 hour period.
Okay, any more bad news?
Well,
Everything's smooth.
Oh, you got it under control,
Actually, we've been in react mode.
I imagine so.
Yeah.
Chris, now I'm telling you, he got ahead of me. You talk about
I got
water,
I got that.
I was very impressed when I toured the place. You couldn't even see the floor when I went out there.
Have you been back?
I'm fixing to.
So,
Give me another week, this last week, we
Get the
haven't
floor
made any
set.
progress on trying to get it
So-
It's the
Yeah.
filthiest
solved.
place.
We've been firefighters all week.
so those backwater straws, we're still gonna use those, right? We're just gonna lift them up, the two that's there.
Mhm.
So part of that price is manufacturing a new one.
One new one, correct.
And two, food, I mean, just for your info, back, like, I'm gonna say like in '88, the motors down at the river back then was just patched. Okay, so the patches wore out, all of them just went down. That's where they had the strip pit. Fire department drafted, the strip pit that was out there on Independence Road at the time, but found out Antlers has the same motors as what Heatner's got. And that's where Heatner located one in case something major happens. They had a spare one with a river intake. And they got it, so we got water back.
When is the river or the strip pit going away, or is it already gone?
Well, actually, the vote was taken, and we're supposed to do away with that. And at times, Viola was looking, they was off of it, trying, and then there was an upset or something, either rain or drought or something, and they needed that stability that the strip pit offers. Now, Robert here, in an effort to give y'all some information, because what do we do going forward? Do we produce water, do we not produce water, and whatever? Since we've done that, in my opinion, because these people come and everybody, not only them, but others, everybody has talked about, the strip pit could be an answer, just do things different. So my deal, I think the first thing is, and I've already sent him an email and asked him to start dialogue with Mr. Thompson, see if we can undo that deal. If we can't undo the deal, you know, like he says, anything can be undone, but that's gonna be up to Mr. Thompson, I believe. And, if that can't be undone, then we gotta go forward without looking at the strip pit option. And then it's just the river.
You know, a couple meetings ago, we went, said that we were gonna go to PBA. I know there's been some other information that people wanna look at, but this is our problem there's always gonna be a new shiny toy that's gonna come out to us and say, oh, we should have done this or that. We have to have a plan and execute that plan, whether it's PBIA or the other one. Why are we going back and forth?
Well, my only deal on that is to give y'all the most information, so we can say, okay, here's what they're saying about with the strip pit. Let's just say that it can be undone and it's undone and we have that option.
But
And then put it all together. Because going forward, I'm gonna say that we probably should run that plant 90 to 180 days after PBA gets to town, so that we see what numbers actually are. And I don't know.
I'm just, you know, there's one thing whether, and I mean, I think you guys can produce good water, I mean, you know.
It could be better.
But, the funds, I mean, that's the biggest hurdle, is the funds. Whether they can get the best water in the state of Oklahoma or what, we don't have the funds to continue to put into that plant out there.
Within that same deal, you know, as they talked about, when we talked about, let's go PBA, change the flow of water through town, and come over here, and Perry said we might take a line from the old pike to the tower, take that'd be, put all that in there, and it, you know, there's this project, this much money, and there's this project over here, this much money, or the strip pit's not part of it, and so we kind of see where we're going, and everything.
And I'm kind of with Cody that I think we need to gather the information, numbers. I still would like to see what our rates, if we go PBIA, what that's gonna end up being. You know,
But their cost is $1.50 right now.
I
You can
understand
choose.
what their costs are. I'm saying when we add our distribution and everything else and our loan payments on top of it, I wanna see what are we going to end up charging and how much money are we gonna recoup to be able to put back into the distribution system.
Well, that one guy, I don't remember if his name's Wills or Willis. Do you name Wills or Willis? Talked about the meter program. I think it's gonna be in February when he can be back in here, and he's working on a deal, taking the rates and doing the meters, and with the revenue neutral, we don't put no money in.
Right.
Okay, but that's the meters.
This is our
But he's
rate.
using our current rates.
I know, but I think that we should have a rate
Yes.
determination right
Yeah,
now
I'm with you.
of going forward, whether we do that or not.
Rural Water Association is still working on it.
Okay, I'm tired of waiting on them. This is something you should be able to do because you have our numbers. You know how much it costs for the
Well, there's not gonna be much
distribution side.
difference. last month we said it was
Been
$1.47 and PBA is $1.50, so there's not gonna be much difference in the rates.
I wanna know. I want a rate system put together. And I've asked for this for about 3 months. I want one that shows if we are PBIA and we have to pay them to produce the water. Where does our rates need to be? And include that along with our distribution costs and our loan payments on top of that. Then I want to see, one, how is it, where do we need to be with our rates if we produce water? And each one of these need to be set up in the manner that we are putting money back, that we're actually making some money so that we can put it back into our infrastructure. That's what I want to see.
Well, you take those same numbers that we used.
I'm not taking anything, Cody.
Well, okay, but those numbers, when you take out the 500 million plus production
Mhm.
of okay,
Mhm.
that $1.47 that we was producing,
Mhm.
okay, when you take that out, and if you reduce our expenses by 50 cents, it takes our cost of water production to 243.
Okay. And I wanna see what that's gonna look like in that scenario.
So even right there is 243 to 150. You know, just on cost of water.
It's a big decision, and, you know, the more information we can,
Yep.
we can gather, And I think these guys are they're gonna be critical in this because they're looking at that equipment. And I went out there last Friday and looked, and I'm a fixer-up guy. I hate to trash. You look around my house and you see that. I hate to throw anything away. But at some point you gotta say, I don't know what that point is, and that's what we gotta figure out.
But we had, when they were giving a presentation, I asked every company, how much it would cost to put the plant in, and on average, it's gonna be about probably $1 million to put it back. Maybe 1.5 if you, put the, a different, I don't know what it's called, from extraction point, if we move it, because don't you want to move it further down away to get some
That
more
would
time?
be to take care to a different department.
But
I'm out of the loop on that one.
But there's that, and then plus the, what, the 350, 500,000, whatever, to reroute the water. So we're looking at probably $1 million to 1.5. Where is that going to come from, guys? I mean, that's whether we can produce the water, where did that $1.5 million come from? We owe the city. How much do we owe the city?
$557.
So now we're looking at $2 million.
$557.
We cannot put money back into the plant. Our distribution problem is already a problem.
Oh, yeah.
There's cities around all over this county that's using PBIA water that has money in their account. How hard is it? We sell water, we bring that rate in, and we get out of the water making business. Well, I mean, how hard is that?
I sure hear a lot of complaints from customers in those places that are getting from BBIA too, and they don't have any power to affect the quality of water they're getting. Here, at least, we have some ability to do that. But if we do that, we're a slave to PBIA.
Yeah.
That's my issue with that.
There's
Well,
not
I
a
think-
slave to yeah, it's coming from PBIA. They haven't raised their rates in, I don't know how long. Cody, you're on the board, how long?
2 years ago. 2 years ago, they had a rate increase.
Okay. And before that, probably 10 years. I talked to somebody that was on a board of another.
I think I seen a deal that it was like $1.30 back in the mid-2000s.
Okay. So,
Because all those water districts are the ones that vote for the rate increase.
they're not gonna raise their rates, right, because you're on the board.
I'd have to vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Where is this money, this $1.5 million, plus the money that if we can't take care of that, why would we want to get more money and put into the plant?
That's what I'm saying though, is if we don't look at where somebody goes in and actually does the numbers.
I'm telling you guys, this is a low number. That's people wanting to sell us their business. That 1.5 million, I guarantee it's probably closer to 2.5. To update the plant and get the water from the plant over there when we cut out production of 65%. I've talked to several different companies on, and I think, why do we want to do that? We need to have a plan going forward. We voted for it 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago. Why did you guys vote for it if you weren't ready?
Well, that
for
was
it?
an intent. That
No.
was intent.
My motion was.
Hey, no.
My motion was, my motion was to go to.
Unless we need to read that in a minute.
Please
I
listen.
wanna hear it in a minute.
My motion said to go to PBI water.
Our
once the
intent,
PBI
our intent. I
That
don't know
was
what
not
your motion
intent.
was, but my intent, that was intent.
Yeah.
There's 2 motions. There's a motion in the meeting prior, which was the intent, and there's the following meeting where you guys voted not to produce water.
When the meeting that you weren't, I don't know if you were here or
I
not,
was
but
at one of them that,
You
but
were not
when
here.
I made the
Joy
motion,
was not here at the.
That's right. when I made the motion to go to PBA with the completion of the line, and we had a unanimous vote.
But my question is still, if we only have PBIA, right now we have them as a backup. It's always just been that way, it seems like. When we stop production, and all we have is PBIA, they have dirty water, they have boil orders, they have all this, and we still have to maintain the lines, right?
Yeah.
Everything that goes wrong with the water lines is our problem.
And if it's out of compliance, then it's
And
our
if,
fault.
if it's out of
Just like
compliance,
any other district
whose
that's
problem
around
is
here. It would be ours because it's a mutual agreement. I mean, they're the ones that's providing the water, but we're also taking care of that. We may have to do some, and I don't know what the term, what,
Well, you'll have to do
Booster stations or
additional
something?
You'll have to do additional testing, because you'd be like a consecutive system. Okay, so you'll still have to do the sampling and everything out, like THMs in the system.
Okay, and I get where you're going, and I'm not totally against it. I'm just saying that that number was thrown out in a meeting, a presentation by multiple different companies
they're gonna undercut
that
it.
had, no, listen, that had never been in there to see exactly and broke it down.
We know
We
our,
need to give him an opportunity to see what will it take, what is going to be our world after OK goes to PBIA.
then why did we vote for it 2 meetings ago? That's right there. We don't have, just because a motion is brought up, doesn't mean that everybody agree. If you guys were not for it, why did you guys, I mean, why, if you didn't want it, why did you vote for it?
yeah, but
There was not a no vote. Everybody vote for it. Why would we do that? If you're gonna stop it now.
I can answer why I did, because one thing, I'm new, and whether all these people that presented these new deals painted this out here better than it is or not, I thought it was hopeless. Well, we all know nothing's hopeless if you spend enough money on it. Well, you know, I mean, in that world, mechanical world, if you want to throw enough money at you, you fix it. And that's the question. So I see both sides. Like I said earlier, we just need to, I don't want to throw just, maybe it was a bad vote. Maybe we jumped, maybe we did all jump the gun because we were all a little bit desperate on what we were gonna do. We were kind of under the gun, you know, we gotta get somebody here to fix our water. And these guys, and we'll know a little bit more, and, you know, we gotta find out. These guys are gonna be honest with us. I think they will be. I think they'll tell us in 2 or 3 months that they'll have a better idea to say, scrap it.
close the doors or fix it.
We might have thought that was the best with the way that we were getting hammered with the public. That was my opinion on it.
It comes down to dollars and cents.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it
And
does.
it's not making either one of them right now for us to make.
Okay.
water.
I wanna know your $1.5 million.
Okay.
Back it up.
Okay, so when Jacobs was here,
Okay, no,
Alright.
I want hard,
hold on.
okay.
No, I mean, when
Okay.
Jacobs was here, they said about $1 million, and they said conservatively. That's somebody that's wanting for us
Okay.
to bring them in and sell water.
I get it.
If it was that bad, you know that that's conservative. You
Not
know that
arguing
that
with
number
you.
is conservative.
Not
Alright.
arguing.
Now, I'm gonna ask you,
Yeah,
Chris.
and realistically, the amount of length of time that we had from the RFP to when the proposal
Yeah.
was due, there's nobody that could give you
I-
anything close to an accurate estimate.
I understand,
We had to
and I
break it out.
understand that, alright? But how much, our engineer 3 years ago, 4 years ago, said in 2 years that the plant was going to implode. We have 2 years life expectancy. That
At,
was 4 years ago.
at the current production,
That,
and we are looking to
Reduce
reduce
it from
production,
any-
and
I
we've also
understand.
been told if the production is reduced, then it's not gonna be
It extends the life of the
Yes,
plant. the way I
tremendously.
But it's already overdue to implode.
Okay.
It should have been
So,
pushed.
okay, but what is the problem with allowing, I don't understand why you're wanting to push the issue with PBIA and there's no
Because
going back until we get some hard numbers.
because I've talked to people, and I've done more research than probably anybody on the board during this whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I understand how much it's gonna be. Chris, I'm gonna ask you, what is the shape of our plant?
Poor, it needs a lot of work, okay?
And I know you've only been there 3 weeks, well, more, but I mean,
I see a lot of what we call deferred maintenance, okay? If it been properly maintained, I don't think you'd be having this issue. But then
Okay.
again, I don't know if you didn't have the money to perform the needed
Okay, but where are we at
What was
today?
that? We didn't
Let's
have the
talk
money,
about
we still don't
today.
have the money.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so how, if you were to come in and you wanted it just in the short term, how much is it gonna take to get the plant itself up to run?
Otherwise,
No way.
I ain't get close yet, yeah.
Means,
That's scary.
So-
You know,
And, okay, and before you give the answer, I want you to
I want
think about, we're talking about
Mhm.
once OK goes to PVI. And think about that scenario and what you would need as a plant.
you have fixed costs for labor,
Right.
yeah, insurance, all that stuff, that
But
stays
we're talking
the
about
same.
fixing up the
Whether
plant
you
where
make-
it needs to be.
Whether you make 1 gallon or a million gallons, okay?
Yeah.
So that's gonna raise your cost per thousand way up.
Right,
Okay.
and I understand that.
Now, a lot of cities, okay, I work in Everglade City, which was another Veolia project, and Collier County wanted them really bad. The city wants to keep it, because they want to control their own destiny, and they want it for a source of revenue as well.
Right.
Okay, unfortunately, the mayor there, he died before he went to prison for embezzlement.
Okay.
Robert, oh, you know.
Max?
Anyway, so
Robert,
they
Max
have
Roberts.
funding issues, okay? So what they did is they went through and they're actually getting grants from, what's it, Florida Economic Opportunity or something.
Yeah,
So
and I,
grants are one way to solve that problem.
no, I'm not for, we are overextended. I do not wanna go out for any more grants, loans, nothing.
Grants, grants would be nice, but I mean,
Grants
that's gonna
Grants would
take
be
a
great,
year or
but
2 years,
they're all
and then we're.
usually matching grants.
Time is money. All right, when this started with London, if we would have made this decision back in May, April, that's almost a year's worth of revenue that we could have brought in on whatever rate structure that we were at.
Yeah, if we'd done
Okay.
something about the rates.
But we haven't done that, all right? Now we're still wanting to spend money on a plant and look at something and go another 6 more months, 8 more months, 9 more months. Because who's to say that they're gonna be done in April, or May, or June?
I know.
I mean, and then you guys wanna spend another 3 or 4 months, finding out. We need to make a decision on, do we wanna produce water? Or what? We made that decision once, and I don't know why we're revisiting it, but, we have to have a long-term plan.
Well, I brought that up because I just wanted to all be out there on the thing.
Here's another thing too, according to EQ, aren't we supposed to have 2 ways of water resource?
By law, we have to have.
So who's
See,
Pogo's
that's
back?
another problem. See,
But how are these other places
they
get
go by
around it?
districts.
And they have 2 entry points into their system,
Well,
same water.
So we do too. We have water up here and water down here.
So we're leaving.
But you,
When they get the water here when PVI gets the water here, we'll have 2 entries.
I think, I don't know this, but I believe how that happens is, we've got a meter down here, we push water into the water distributor's district that borders us. They get PVA as their water source, but we get additional water, so they've got 2 water sources. There's a meter right out here that all you have to do is open the valve, and we sell water to Howe, into the Howe district. Howe don't need it, there's just so many upgrades through there, they don't need
We
it.
found out about that after we kinda voted to go PBIA with the EQ rules. We got a phone call saying that we need to make sure we got a backup water system.
But technically we do.
But we
We do now, but we won't have if we shut out.
No.
Well, you will
Picola,
have once
where's
the line is
Picola's?
done to the north
Yes,
tower.
we will. We've got a line over here that's coming in to the plant, and we've got a line in the north tower from PVIA.
But I thought the line that come into the north tower strictly for that.
That's where our line's gonna be.
And
No, that infrastructure's gonna stay in place.
If you go
There's a
PVI.
new line to the tower, and then there'll be a new line from the tower to OK Foods.
Okay.
That's strictly just OK Foods. But that infrastructure in there was still gonna be there.
Okay, but if we go strictly PVIA, we will not have to have a dedicated line from the north tower to OK. If we, as a city, end up going totally PVIA.
No, that agreement was for them to have their own source. They're paying for their own line. That's all on them. But there's gonna be a new line link from the tower to OK Foods.
And OK is paying for that.
OK and PVIA, however that's working.
Right, okay, but if we go totally PVIA, we've already got a second source of water. We'll still be able to draw it from the north tower also for the city, right?
Well, we don't need the north tower. what, the elevation over here will fill this tower over here.
What I'm saying is, that can be our second source of water to meet that requirement
I-
from DEQ.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
And
That's what I was assuming, that's why I say, a meter sitting out here, where we could sell water to Howe. Like I said, there's a meter out here,
Okay.
you open the valve, we pump water in the house system.
Okay.
But I believe it was 2011 when they brought that new water line down Morse, or all the way across in that Morse Creek Road there. Okay, I believe if you went back, that's probably when they quit buying water from Heath. Cause this is what I know. There'd be low water pressure out here on Morse Creek Road. In the summertime, there was one person out there that had enough stroke, and PBIA would, or Howe would start buying water off the heater, and they'd run across there, and he'd have more pressure at his house.
Rob, I guess the question is there was a vote and it passed. So legally, where does the city stand? I mean,
Right now,
can,
legally,
legally.
legally, right now, you're not, you've chosen not to produce water as soon as
Okay.
PPA gets up. You guys can do, anything you want, you have to take another vote, majority rules.
Okay, I didn't know if we could backtrack or.
I think we can all agree it's almost gonna take a miracle before we can produce water. I mean, you know, whether that's 1.5 million or 750,000 or 3 million.
It comes down where's your best money spent?
Yep.
In your water plant or in the distribution?
The distribution.
Right.
Your infrastructure needs work.
Right.
And that's where you're gonna go start.
And we
the
have to
city's
have
gonna
the
be liable
infrastructure.
for it, So.
Like it or not, we don't have to have a water plant. I mean, you can expand on this, there may be things at the water plant that still be in use. I don't know, the clear well or something like that.
And I do think that we need to look at what is required if we go PBIA. Because there were comments that were said, you will still have to have some operation at the water plant. And I want to know what that is and what the cost of it is. And I want to see a rate schedule so we can put money back into our distribution system if we go PBIA. I want to see what that's gonna be. Because I am very worried about losing any kind of revenue.
We're not, you raise the rates, we're selling water, whatever, I don't care what the towns are, our rates, we need to dictate our own rate.
I understand that.
And make the revenue that we can put back into our system so we can deliver a good product. It's that simple. I mean, we made a decision, let's stick with it and let's, the long term, and start managing for that. We react on everything. We do not have a game plan here, and we haven't for 3 years. So, let's,
That's why I contacted Real Water.
right,
I contacted our auditor and DEQ and had them looking at all those. Because we'd been told that our water was anywhere from 68 cents to 80 cents for us to produce. And then them guys sat down, things that we had in the budget, they pulled out. Things that we didn't have in the budget, they said, no, this is over here. And everything. Went back, found out how much the project cost, you know, with the water plant had never been paying for its share of the work been done. It was all put in water distribution, which in a nutshell, it all comes out of the same pot, but it wasn't showing a true cost over there. And that cost, we've been told those figures, and then it was nearly double that, at $1.47. And it's gonna go up. It's not gonna be cheaper for PBA. And your distribution's gonna be what it is.
And your long tank
So-
payments and all that.
Yep.
so plus we got to pay, and I don't know what it was broken down to this, it was roughly 55,000 to produce the water out there. When we get it from PBIA, we don't have to pay PBIA for the water. Correct? it's going to come from our people, our meters.
Okay,
Right.
no, you're
No,
gonna,
hold-
okay, go ahead.
Hold on, so whatever that rate is, so we can make a profit to put back into our system dictates our rates. Right?
Until they
To
change
a
it,
degree,
until
okay,
they change it,
it's
that's
not
what
a
it
simple
is. We know
formula
what
as
it
that,
is.
because you're paying for whatever comes through that meter.
It is.
What comes through the meter and what your customers use is gonna be different. You're gonna be higher coming through the meter than what your customer uses.
But that's a distribution problem.
Yeah, because there is
That's-
water
That
loss,
we'll have to
Yeah.
pay.
and we don't capture that water loss, and we don't know where all that water loss is
And
at.
that will help with this new company that's coming in. But before we need to have our rates right now.
Yeah.
Done, and have a plan, whether it's, we've already said that we're not gonna make water, so let's stick with that. And let's start working on our rates, instead of kicking it down the road another 6 more months and coming up with another study and being at square one 6, 8 months
Well,
down the
this is-
road.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm asking for those rates. I mean, I wanna know what it's gonna be.
But
I'm not saying that changes.
do we have $1.5 million coming in? Is there, if our rates changed, where are we gonna get the money to put that money in there? Whether it's 750 or $1 million, where is that money gonna come from? Plus the 500,000 that we owe the city. Where is that gonna come from? If we can't take care of that, there's no reason that we ought to be spending any more money in that plant.
I'm not arguing keep the plant necessarily. I'm saying we've got to get those rates done. And we've got to look at what is the life, and is there a portion of that plant that has to operate even if we go PBIA?
I don't believe
I
there
wanna
is.
make sure, I'm not so sure that we don't have to do something.
We might be looking into, I don't know what ODQ rules are, but you may have to demolish the plant or mothball, so you're gonna have some costs involved with that.
Right.
But you're right.
I'm talking about ongoing cost. I mean, is there something that has to be done
Nothing I know of.
as it comes through? Because there was somebody that was giving a presentation that was saying you can't just totally shut that down.
No,
I mean, I don't know
They
nothing.
might have been talking about you just can't, turn the lights out
Right,
and
you gotta,
lock the door
there's some,
and walk away.
There's certain maintenance or something they were talking about.
Yeah.
I remember the
You remember that?
discussion,
well, one
but
guy
I
was
can't remember
saying,
what you,
mothball
what
it,
they were
you
saying.
go back out there every once in a while and start it up and keep it where, in emergency, you could use it.
But no, somebody else was saying that even if you use PBIA, there's stuff that has to be done.
That's because of the way that the water comes from PVI into the plant instead of straight into the distribution system.
They can go straight in.
But I mean, we can change that, can't we?
Now, there's a bypass to send it straight into the distribution out there in the parking lot.
I just wanna make sure we are looking at everything, that we know what we are walking into.
Back to the elevation over there, that elevation where that line is, see, it's the same as the top of the tower over there, so it gravity feeds. You can feed from over there and keep this tower full,
You can feed from the north tower to keep the
east one full.
east one full.
Well, one of the things about those numbers is that $1.47, you think it's it wouldn't even be an argument. But we were told time and time again that we're producing water under $1 out there. Now, we always wanted the information to support any argument on what was being paid per gallon. What it was the cost was, but there's a large discrepancy. And I don't know why they were coming up with those numbers. I don't know what supported those numbers. And then this other number is $1.47. So I guess in a sense,
Does the $1.47?
we're somewhat skeptical with what number should we rely on? Is this
Well-
$1.47 reliable or is
Does
it
the
not?
$1.47 include the loan payments?
Yes,
Okay, that's what you're gonna have even if you go PBA.
well,
And I think that's where the confusion comes in at.
well, what that equated to was about 10 cents of that was loan payment on 700 plus million gallons. Okay, that fixed cost of that payment is gonna go up dramatically, that 10 cents per thousand, when you're only producing 220 million gallons a year. You know. So yeah, that's what drove it from 147 to 242, is those fixed costs are still there. and all those variables come down, even if, and I dropped it down 50%. Some of these people are just saying, I don't believe you're gonna see a 50% reduction. Okay, now, back to where those numbers come from, I think the difference is in some of those water budgets that I've seen, or water stuff, they talk about the raw cost of water, and they only talk about chemicals and electric. That's all they talk about. So I think those other figures never figured in materials and maintenance, never figured in the loans, didn't figure in no salaries, nothing like that. And that's where I always was on it, is, well, when you do it over here, and at the end of the year, we close the books out, and the water plant had X amount of dollars, this don't come up to no 75 cents.
No.
You gotta do labor, chemicals, electric, and maintenance. Yeah, that has to be in your numbers.
Well, but I think they go by what you call it, a raw water cost, or just a green water cost or something, and just, then there's that cost, and then they add it to the other things in there too, and that's all.
I mean, this may not sound right, but if we can't even determine how much it's gonna cost to make water, why are we even making water? Just go to PBIA,
We know what we're
we know how much it is.
Well, it can be whatever we want.
Well,
The math is so much easier.
I mean, realistically, I mean,
And that's why I had the auditors and DEQ and Rural Water Association, because there was 3 outside agencies that took the numbers that we closed the books on, and that was the numbers that we charged down there. And everything. And like I say, then when they look at that, you know, this wasn't current numbers, this was last year's numbers. We'd already closed the books. They said, well, you shouldn't have had that. So they played with those figures and said, you shouldn't have had that number in there. So it reduced it. Well, where's this at? Well, it was over here. Well, that's the wrong place. That's this right here. So there's a payment. Well, we need to know. So that's when I got with Perry. And Perry went back and pulled in 2007, that big project. He went and pulled down that bid sheet. There was 3 or 4 people that done different things. And he said, well, that one was there. And when you add up, it had a percentage, and you add those percentages up, and that project over there, 27.2% of that loan payment, that 186,000 or whatever it is, 263,000, whatever that number is, goes to the water plant, and the rest of it goes to the distribution. So, and it'll be that way till 2047.
Cody, what do you feel like would be the best course of action for the city?
Well,
PBA or?
I don't think that the numbers are gonna come back that we can produce water.
Okay.
You think that's gonna support Billy's argument more or
Well,
less?
that's, we didn't discuss that, it's 150 versus 147, right?
I just, the fixed cost is gonna drive everything up. Yeah, when that comes out, I just think that there's gonna be too big a discrepancy in there.
When do you actually expect that to come out?
He was gonna try to get back this month.
Melinda, what's your thought?
I don't wanna give up the water plant, but I understand what everybody's saying.
Yeah, that's what
But what concerns me is do we have to keep it, some parts of it
that's,
working,
yeah, that's what
which
I'm wondering.
you just talked about. And then we still are gonna have all the maintenance, and then if PBI goes out, what do we do for water?
I got a well coming right
Oh, right.
Max,
now. They
what's
gonna
your
let you,
That's
they gonna
where
let
it
you die
comes.
first.
That's where it comes to the backup water deal, the DEQ, that you require. And,
Marvin Well.
yeah. Yeah.
Need a bigger pump.
They used to be a good windmill right up there on Morse Creek Road. But, you know, my opinion on that thing too is, you know, I hate to be at the mercy of other people. I know we voted on that and all. But yeah,
But well, we're at somebody else's mercy if we owe more money too.
well, that's true.
You know, they already got their foot
True,
on it.
true. But, you know, that new site was built in '82. And, but some way, if everything, once we disconnect with OK Foods, and we don't have to worry about them, period. We can concentrate on the city only and close one side down and the new side, who knows?
But you're selling less water, I think that's what he was saying.
Cost per thousand is gonna go way up.
The cost of water, we're gonna have less profit because we're
We'll
selling
go
less
up,
water,
and you're
right?
So
So
are
I
we
mean,
gonna turn over money though when we sell to PVIA just through the plant? We're gonna turn
How
money
are we
over.
not gonna be selling the same
Oh,
amount of water?
okay, what do you mean turn money over?
Well, I mean, if we're selling it,
Markup.
our markup, we're gonna make
Oh,
money
yeah.
selling it.
On what we're buying, selling, okay.
It's
I mean,
not
I
a
know
lot,
we have to
but-
buy the water from PVIA, but we're gonna
Yeah.
sell the water to people.
But
Don't
some,
we sell them a lot more water?
So do we not sell the same amount of water?
Yeah.
If you've got 1,000 people in town that are on the water line and we're still gonna serve 1,000 people, then you're selling
So,
water
yeah.
to 1,000 people.
we're still gonna sell the same
Yeah.
amount that we have to
But we
OK
just need a
Foods.
different rate.
Yeah,
Well, you're not gonna be selling the OK Foods anymore.
right, that's what I'm saying, you're gonna lose all that. So
I know we're gonna lose OK Foods, but,
We
So
don't
that's-
have the production.
you're not gonna have, you're gonna lose,
but we
they
need,
use more than we do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, all.
well, yeah.
The profit.
The profit.
So what
Yeah.
we're talking
Okay,
about
food is
is,
gonna be offset by the loss you take, but the cost per thousand for the existing plant.
Yes.
I mean, that logic doesn't really work, so, my opinion on that, so. Mine too.
Well, you're
Okay.
probably gonna be paying for more water than you're selling. If you're gonna come for a water side.
Well, no, I kind of agree, I hate to pay higher rates, but
We're already paying.
we need,
Our rates are not high.
I think we need to look at the sewer. I look at my bill and that's all I know about is my bill. And it looks to me like the sewer versus the water is pretty high.
Sewer rates are a little bit higher, they're on an incentive schedule.
I mean, can we, if we do up the rates, can we do something, adjust them down a little bit, not raise them at the same rate?
Nope.
That was the recommendation from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We had them in here and they recommended a rate increase, and we chose not to raise the water rates and did the sewer.
We
see,
should've done
some way,
more.
somehow, you know, we got to have an increase, and we can't go down on any
We need
of
an
it.
ascending.
And yeah, what can we do, when's the next meeting? 2 weeks from
It's every day.
the next HUA meeting.
It's every time now.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
right now, we got it scheduled every 2 weeks, I mean, twice a month,
Twice
just
a
like
month.
the council.
It's,
So it'd be the 6th of February.
Cody, can you and Amy sometime work on that and give us the figures
I'll see what I
by
can get.
next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
Make sure we get enough in it to not just cover the distribution. We wanna be able to put some money back in the bank so that we can fix the distribution.
Well, we have to. We
So
don't.
we can't go off of just what was
And
budgeted.
it's the best time. I mean, everybody's been whining about their water. Say, we're gonna get you better water. It's gonna cost you.
but you're gonna
Yeah.
pay for it.
And it
I
needs
mean,
to be an
exactly.
ascending rate. So
Has,
all-
has to be.
Jim,
But
you're
here's
real
the
quiet.
deal,
What you
too.
want?
here's the deal too, he's thinking about next week tournament, aren't you?
No, I've been listening to everything.
You're
Make
not
sure it's
dribbling
got
the ball
water
in.
for the
Yeah,
But I feel like if,
on Connie's.
Cody,
It'd be
if
cheaper
we
to go
put
that
the
way.
pencil
Once
down,
you lose it, it's gone forever.
which way is gonna be the best, and then we can go over it 2 weeks, how's that?
I think that's a plan. That is a plan.
Well, I would recommend this. Y'all go look at it. The guy will give you a tour of it. If you haven't seen it, and go look at the plan. It may kind of
Discourage you from
discourage you a
it.
little bit. I mean,
Well, he's gonna clean the floor here.
it's clean. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about look at the
I
the
know,
structure.
but you're never gonna know where it's gonna
Is there
cost
grant
from
money out there?
$500,000 to $3 million. Who's
No.
gonna ever tell you?
I don't
And
know.
that was not detailed about it.
We're
Well,
just
I
not
agree,
having
but I
the
mean, just,
infrastructure.
this number is coming from the 350, that's probably under, I mean, everything is from moving water from over there to back to the tower, the back feed, once our water production is cut. So that's included in that, and then there was a restriction point that was different that they wanted to do if we made water, is that correct? Cody?
Say that again.
So there's a,
Retraction.
they wanna move the retraction point.
Injection point?
Injection
Maybe
point, I mean, not
injection
retraction,
point.
the injection point. And that was gonna cost,
But I think what these guys have looked at is, probably moving that back down to the river. If we need to,
You know.
Yeah,
No, I
I
don't want
think
to,
everything's
but
working fine right now.
if you
The
know,
only thing we do is
you
get rid
know,
of
it's
the
just
tip.
like if
Get rid of the
anything
strip
else, you
tip,
wanna keep
because
going.
we have
but
probably
you
sodium
can't.
bicarbonate, another chemical, bring out blend, you can get rid of that.
No, but I
That'd be
think
difficult.
That's what we know.
but we know there's gonna be 350 plus
That's
to
what I'm
move,
saying.
That for sure.
we need
to
to
take that
put
water,
the
I mean, to
pencil down.
reroute it, like Barry said,
Whoa, yes.
right?
yeah,
He's saying, but he's saying it's working fine, he believes.
Yeah,
No, 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 no.
there just needs some training and maybe a newer chemical feed system, a little new piping, and actually the landscape will make good water. I think I found that the training wasn't there for the folks that are there, and they don't understand the importance of, hey, you need to check this in the morning, you need to check this at lunchtime, you need to check this before you go home. Because you have to feed this chemical, make sure it's feeding properly.
Okay, what I'd like to see from you
You know, for my farm, okay.
by the next meeting is, and I understand you have a lot going on, and I'm not asking for just cold hard numbers. I want you to take a look and say, okay, if this plant is going to stay here, keep in mind, the bulk of the production is gonna go away. What do I need, dollar amount, to keep it in operation?
That's unfair.
I don't think it's unfair at all.
I
I'm
think,
giving him a chance.
Yeah,
To say-
I'd have to have
I mean,
Aaron here, and probably Jeff.
yeah, you're looking at a plant that's how old?
1962.
You can't look at something, it's like ask your mechanic to look at your car and say, is this got another 100,000 miles in it?
Well-
You know,
We got a pretty good idea, I mean, I'll walk
But
the
here's-
plant, see what's broke, we'd have to evaluate.
Let's say,
What we shut down.
for argument's sake, let's say we have to put $0 into the plant. It's still gonna go to $2.47.
Yep.
So why would we even do that? What are we even
Point.
talking about?
Yeah.
we're chasing this dead dog around.
I probably opened this can of worms because I just wanted y'all to know that you made the best decision. I
Yeah,
don't feel like you've ever been given that opportunity.
I think all of us hate to see the plant close. One thing we hate for people to lose their jobs. But let's face it, if it ain't a money-making
Yeah.
proposition, I'm not even talking about breaking even, I'm talking about if it's not a money-making, and there's all the liabilities and all the potential of the stuff going wrong that's astronomical in our world, you know? So,
Tell you what, Cody, go ahead and put the pencil to it, 2 weeks. Then you give us your recommendation.
And will you find out if
If we have to.
we go PBIA, can
Somebody
we just shut the plant and be done?
Yeah, without having to do it.
Is there any other cost associated with switching over to PBIA?
Well, he just told us about one additional monitoring on testing.
Yeah, you're gonna have some.
Well,
you're
you're
gonna
gonna have to factor
Just
that in.
because of the distribution, we're getting,
We're gonna have distribution.
Well, it not be insignificant, but at least it's all.
I mean, if we keep the plant open, we're still gonna have, O&M, that's gonna be above their.
Required, you wanna know from DQ, what's gonna be required of that plant if we shut it down?
If there's anything.
what's required to shut it down?
Like, if we shut it down, are we okay?
Yeah.
Do we meet their requirements?
I don't wanna come back and find out that
We gotta do
they're
a
gonna
bunch of
come
stuff.
back and make us do $1 million worth of stuff to,
And maybe a
Totally
hazmat.
demol-
Yeah,
yeah.
hazmat.
that's what I don't, I wanna know.
But
It's got to wrap it.
it wouldn't be until you dispose of the chemicals, cause, chemicals would have to be taken out of there.
Cody, go ahead and report, let's move on. Item number 6, you wanna give us your report?
Let me say one other thing since we got on this. The administrative compliance order with Viola, that say May the 20th is now when they're gonna do that?
Yes. They have discovery going with them. It's a full-fledged deal.
On the, passing the,
No, Veolia is trying to dispute the $3 million, so
Right.
that's gonna go through.
That's scheduled, got a schedule made before that's gonna
Oh, okay.
And they haven't sent it to us yet, or, correct? They're trying to pass that along to us.
be. So they just put us on notice.
They just put us on notice, yeah.
Well, do you see the scenario if they do not, relieve them of that they're gonna sue us for that $3 million?
Yes.
It's hard.
Yeah, but with all the faults and, do we have grounds to counteract on stuff too?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Let me tell you when the hearing is, I got this.
Welcome to Haven.
You'll see the final hearing, actually. Yeah, so it's gonna be the week of May 11th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Too many twenties on the
Yeah.
table.
It'll probably be a very lengthy hearing.
Do they have that DQ chambers or?
Yes.
Okay, let's go on item number 6 on the trust, on the,
Kendall,
Kendall, you
Kendall,
don't
that's
let
what I'm
Kendall do
saying.
his thing.
that's what I'm saying.
He's not on number 6. He's
Well, I
on
know
number
that,
five.
dang it, I'm wishing one here and everything here.
All right.
I got bingo going through my head right
Oh,
now.
yeah, I'm sure you're concerned.
Alright, go ahead and give us your report.
Okay, the first and probably one of the biggest is we're having issues with SCADA system. We all know SCADA systems. I've got issues with the actual internal program, and then we're also seeing issues on the external side. And what I mean by that is right now, I'm recording what it's giving me is a bad power. And when that happens, what happens is the program is designed that when you lose power, it's gonna go back, to a default setting. Well, the default setting in the SCADA program is basically all the way back to the starting sequence, instead of it being set to go back to the last known variable. So what we've got happening is, an example is from 3:06 p.m. yesterday to 1:43 this morning, I had 6 of them. And it takes the system and it completely starts it back over again. It's hard with remote access. It's impossible when you lose remote access, which I lost remote access from January 1st until one day this week, Tuesday, we got it reestablished. We've had the electricians in, we've put the scopes on it, trying to find where the power spike is. We can't find anything. So Chris and I have talked about it along with Aaron, and talked to Bo with Haynes Pump. We're gonna have to do something about it. That's just all there is to it. We're gonna have to get another integrator in, maybe even a total program scrap, I don't know.
Is this industrial or municipal?
This is on the municipal side. Okay, the grit chamber is down, it's been down. I've actually got it on schedule for Monday, to get that going. Lift station 4, I had a contractor in Monday. We weren't able to get the second pump set because we can't get the water shut off. There were 3 of us out there. We could not get the valves to budge one way or the other. Talked to Mike Jump, and we may end up having to bring in a contractor who specializes in raw sewage maintenance, to perform this task. Now, I've talked to the contractor. The contractor thinks that if we can get a valve body, a new valve body, they can stab it hot, and then we should be good to go. But, I think everybody in this room knows that right now we're running on 1 pump on our main lift station. We lose that pump. I don't know if the pump that pumps to the pond, I don't know if it's operational. It is wired up, but I don't know anything about it.
Which pumps to which pond?
The big pond behind lift station 4.
Okay.
So I need to get somebody in there to check that pump out to make sure that it's operational in case, worst case scenario. Keep staying on lift stations. We've got lift station 2, lift station 3, and lift station 5. They're running on one pump. Lift station 5, we actually found Monday around 2:30 in the afternoon, it is bypassed. We bought one pump. I know they installed a new pump in that one. I want to say it was 4 or 5 months ago. I'm not 100% sure on the time frame.
Pretty close.
Yeah, the new
Pretty
pump.
close.
What's that?
That's pretty close.
Yeah,
I think it was summertime.
the pump's running. It's just not pumping anything. So I don't know. The guide rails are gone. The top posts are gone. So that tells me that the pump is sitting there on the seat alone. So if that's the case, then we probably broke the seat. The pump's probably sitting in there and it's not making connection. I called a company in Fort Smith and they hustled me a pump down here, and I got electricians out there and we dropped the transformer, put the pump in. It's not big enough. We've got another pump that we're gonna get ordered tomorrow it'll be a Band-Aid. But we're probably, we're gonna have to look at probably a total revamp out there. And I'm talking about all the way from access road, because right now we're accessing on the 4-wheeler. We've got no way to get to it. I know they had been going into OK Foods feed mill there and walking across the tracks. Well, one, that's illegal. 2, you still can't get a service truck. You can't get any kind of tools out there. I know just me personally, bringing 2 electricians in, all the parts, all their tools, it was about 6 trips on the floor. So we have got to have an access road. And I know I talked with Cody about maybe can we access it from the east? I don't know.
I don't know that answer. I don't.
How are things so bad? I mean,
How? I wish I could answer that. I've been at the industrial plant for over 20 years.
right.
I came over to the municipal side, I think, it was November 12th or November 17th, I can't remember the day, to work on the SBR. Lift stations I just acquired, just here recently, up until I took them over, or Jackson Evans and I myself took them over. The guys at the water plant were still running them, still checking them. So, these things that I'm running into right now, they kind of put you on notice.
So is this something like that Veolia probably should have told us, and hey, we need to get this done?
You should have been aware.
We knew all about the access road. We've talked about that for a long time.
That's a private property down through the railroad, don't give us no access. I've talked to him about, we could go down through there and trim that. They wouldn't do that.
But even the old access road that went there along the tracks, you can't even walk that. I actually walked it yesterday, and you can't get up it on foot.
If it was clear, could you? I mean,
No. For some reason, it stays wet down there year round.
you can't build it up or?
I don't know you're probably gonna be looking at a big chunk of money in gravel alone. Because it's, we're directly behind the feed mill, and the access road stops at the contact basin, that you can travel. And so we're probably looking at another quarter mile, maybe,
Every bit of that.
every bit of a quarter mile. And like I said, you can't even walk that road, let alone try to drive it.
You get through there with the backhoe?
No, I don't think so.
How come it's gone so long without any attention on getting
I don't know
it
who,
done?
I don't know who maintained it.
Have no idea.
In the past, you talking about the road that goes around the end of the sewer fields and all that?
No, I think they're talking about from right down there at the end of them fields, straight on east.
Oh, okay, I don't know that. I know the other road, the city maintained that years ago, and then it just kinda stopped.
Well, there's that one down there. It's a private drive that comes out of Petrus, comes back to the north.
There by,
Bruce West lived there for a while.
Yeah.
There was somebody up on north of him. That was a private drive.
Yeah.
But that's all washed out down there below, you know. And
You know, some of the other things that we're gonna have to look at is, and I talked with Cody about, we've gotta reestablish the aeration in the two lagoons. I'm pretty sure that right now the ODQ is under the assumption that those are aerated lagoons. So if they're not, then we've gotta get that.
that'd be the same issue with the grid chain.
Grid chain. And that's the reason that we puzzled up to get everything we needed for that grid chamber. Just some other small things that's gonna have to transpire here within the next, well, probably around springtime. I'm gonna have to clean the EQ basin. I don't know if it's ever been cleaned. I do know that one SBR has been cleaned, but I think it was about 4 years ago. The other one, I don't think it's ever been took down and cleaned, so we're gonna, look at getting that scheduled, later on down the road, but it is on the schedule. And then the contact basin, same thing, we're gonna have to take it down, it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be painted, and then also the chemical feed system. Problem with the chemical feed system down there is no, once you walk away from the contact basin, you don't have any idea if it's feeding or not. We have no communication from the contact basin through the SCADA system. So, I mean, it's kind of fortunately, we're always finding that it's running. But, we're gonna have to establish some type of a relationship between, the SCADA system and the contact basin. Because, we're permitted down there. So that's gonna be pretty important. And then, we had to replace the sampler. I found the sampler was broke. So we replaced the sampler, so we got that taken care of. There's still quite a few things that's there that I haven't found yet. And
I'm just kidding. Stop looking. I'm just kidding.
That's what's wrong now.
But
We can run that money about.
going back to what you asked me, yeah, absolutely.
30 minutes.
You should have been aware of what the shape the lift stations were in. Because, and I know, I've walked around, I know at the SBR, there's no backup pumps over there. And at the water plant for the lift station, there's no backup pumps. I've never heard talk over at the city barn, but I need to get over there and check to see, because these pumps are gone, so they've gotta be somewhere. Either, if they've been pulled and they're laying somewhere, I mean, I can send these pumps off and get them rebuilt. But I just need to find these pumps, if they still exist, I need to get my hands on them so I can get them to the shop. Several of the lift stations, especially the ones that are running on one pump, they've got them jumping around.
What about
Kendall, I'm not sure exactly what the pumps are. I know there are some pumps that are out there by the city barn.
Okay, I need to.
But I don't know, I say, I've seen them out there. I don't know if they're still out there.
Okay, I need to go look, and like I say, if they're there, then we need to get them sent to the motor shop and see what.
where there's one pump, are the rail systems good for the other pump?
No.
So if we had two pumps, we couldn't put them in there.
No, now I do have two sets of guide rails, which I'm probably gonna hold on to those to use over at 5. 5, and I actually spoke, I've reported the bypass, in the 24-hour a lot of times. I've got the bypass report filled out. It'll have to be put in the mail in the morning. And I also made a phone call to Mike Robinson and I talked to him about it. I mean, it's a small bypass, but, you know, small or large, it's still a bypass. You know, we've gotta take care of it, and, you know, the last thing that Mike had to say was basically, you know, I've known Mike for a lot of years, and he said, well, you know, as long as you guys are working towards getting that, you know, we're gonna be all right, but it has to be done right. So that's kind of where we're at on that. And then, like I said, but, you know, I think our temporary fix that Chris and I are gonna do, which is order that new pump in.
And after that pump would be like a, sized, so it could be used for other bypasses as well. So in other words, we could actually, it'd be 230 volt with a high head, and so we'd actually have a lift station that goes down, or an issue with one of the pumps. You can lower down in there, run a hose out to the bypass, and run it off the flows, instead of getting a gas or diesel pump.
Yep.
So that pump would only be in there temporarily.
Right. Right, but, and I need to go to the city board, and like I say, if those motors are there, then we need to get them to the shop.
Or they've been taken out to a repair shop and
Left.
Right, and that's, you know, any records on any of the pumps that we may have, you know, if you see anything, just let me know. I mean, if I can just find, if they have been delivered, if I can just find out who, you know, because it's either gonna be Global or Delta or,
I know they've tried to have pumps rebuilt before, and they wouldn't rebuild.
wasn't rebuildable.
They wouldn't rebuild, yeah. Something's wrong, or it's the wrong pump, he's using the wrong pump. Everything,
Okay.
but I don't know.
If we pay for it, then I'll scan the invoice right now. So we can go back and search by vendor, and search, you know, Champion and Global and the bigger ones.
Just start calling.
Yeah,
See if
that's what
you
I
got
say.
it. Yeah.
If we've got any kind of
Up
record,
there.
if we've sent one to them, I'll call them and just see
Yeah.
if they've got, how many they got of them.
Yeah.
But you know, that's, you know, with the other little issues that we've got, just like the SCADA program thing, if we can just get those lift stations, well, that's one thing that we're not gonna have to worry about. That would go a long ways.
And that's not a wish list, that's a need list. which
That's a
you just went
need
over.
list, yeah.
Can you prioritize them, and then we can start knocking them
Sure.
out?
Sure, I mean, well, the two things I've talked about, I mean, we are, without the SCADA system, we're gonna have issues compliance wise. Now, we're not having compliance wise issues right now. But that can go away really quick. You know, we lose the system, we have a bad decant.
Got an estimated cost?
I don't, I know just talking with Aaron, you know, and like I said, we've had the integrator Bo with Ames in right now. I know we have, another guy in Dwayne. You know, the SCADA, that SBR has to be run through that SCADA. We don't have any other options with that.
I mean, when we, not to be enforcement on the SCADA, but aren't they supposed to do that?
Yes,
Veolia, I mean, even out there too?
yes,
Is there not a common thread of neglect in all this?
yes.
I'm glad our lawyers, tell me they don't know though.
But you know, on the SCADA issue, you know, like at the industrial plant, you know, the SCADA that we installed at the industrial, it was, I mean, minute. But it never worked. The pros don't work. I spent months on the phone with Emerson, that's who they supplied the pros over there. Months, Richard Marr with Veolia, the integrator, between him and I, we probably logged, I don't know how many hundreds of hours on the phone with Emerson and could get nowhere. So, you know, the SCADA over there, you know, was basically a few pH, a few DO probes, a level probe, and, sludge level probes. And now the EQ basin level probe it works, and the sludge level work. But as far as the pH and DO, they don't work. Never have, and I can tell you right now, probably. So,
And the DO on SBR is like one of the most important things.
right.
Is there anything working right out there?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Lights come on.
the light, yeah. You know, we'll have, you know, just,
Flip the switch.
you know, going back to, you know, what we were talking about the bad power issue.
Yeah.
Up until yesterday afternoon, the last one I'd had was like on the 9th. So, you know, we'll go a spell there 6 or 7 days, or 8 days, or, you know, possibly 2 weeks where everything is just fine. And then, but when it hits, I had a 3-day period where I was actually having to set an alarm clock for every hour on the hour, and then wake up and log in and jog the system around. And that went on for 3 days.
Holy shit. And this is something we're gonna be doing from now on, right?
Yeah.
This we're stuck with,
Yeah, this is ours.
this is ours. And no matter what, this is ours.
Unless you gonna buy it, Mom.
No. Mm-mm.
Probably sometime next week I get hold of folks over in Kansas.
Right.
They work for Jet Tech, and they built a program SBRs all over the world. They actually did 3 of them for me down in Marathon, Florida. They're really good. I just don't know if the programming is licensed through Jet Tech. Okay, in other words, they know how to set it up. All they have to do is come in and put the addresses in for the DO probe, so it records all that. So I don't know if it's theirs or Jet Tech's, but they would be probably pretty cost effective because it's not their first rodeo.
Okey dokey, you have anything else? Okey dokey, good report. What about, let's kind of speed it up here a little bit. What about comments from trustees? Be no.
No.
I think we
Make
handled
a
all that.
motion to
Make a motion.
adjourn.
Okay, where's Mark?
Huh?
Mark,
Mark's off, he's been
It's
been
still
off.
off on,
Yeah,
Okay.
surgery.
alright.
motion, and then a motion to adjourn.
I did that.
Motion
Second.
by Miranda, second by Billy, all in favor.
Yeah.